Hello. This is one of my favorite stories, Alexandra Hurtado. It's a favorite story because Alexandra Hurtado exists and she was one of my students. And one day she said, "Ian, your stories are so negative. You always kill someone. Please, can we have a happy story?" So next week I surprised her and I wrote a happy story about a happy girl called Alexandra Hurtado. And here it is. Okay, Alexandra Hurtado by Ian Bond. Alexandra was a beautiful baby. She was born on exactly the day she was expected, and she weighed exactly the right weight for a baby girl in Colombia, 3.25 kilos. She was healthy, and she had all her fingers and toes, and everyone said that she was the prettiest baby in the hospital. Her mum was like a princess, and she was dressed in a beautiful white dress and wearing a tiara during the birth, and she never screamed once. Alexandra's father was there, taking photos and adoring his darling baby girl from the first moment he saw her. The hospital she was born in was voted the best hospital in Colombia because it was the cleanest and most friendly in the country. And all of the people who worked there were ex-models or film stars who wanted to devote their time to helping the sick and making the maternity department the best in South America. Many people said that the hospital Alexandra was born in was actually the best hospital in the world, and her mum's doctor was the most handsome. Alexandra was taken home to the family mansion and put into her own amazing little princess palace bedroom with pink unicorns and fairies adorning every surface. She had the best nanny in Colombia working for her, Juana Esperanza. Juana had received the highest scores possible in the Mary Poppins School for Nannies, and Alexandra's father had to pay double the normal price to get her. Alexandra had the best start to life anyone could have. She was very, very lucky. How did Alexandra's father pay for all this? Well, obviously he was a very rich man, but he hadn't earned his money by selling drugs or from prostitution or anything bad like that. No, her father had invented an app called Tranquil App, which was sold to Google for $1 billion plus a 10% royalty or commission because everyone in the world wanted to use it. Quite simply, people downloaded Tranquil App and the app would sense negative energy in the air and emit smooth, calming, tranquil sounds and make everyone who could hear it become calm and serene. All politicians now had it installed in their phones, as well as policemen and English teachers and anyone who worked in stressful environments. The world had changed and everyone was grateful to Alexandra's father for making the world much happier for all of us. Even the leaders of North and South Korea were talking thanks to Tranquil App. Of course, the app was installed in Alexandra's house, so there were never arguments in there, ever. Alexandra was a perfect baby, always smiling or laughing, and she never cried. When she was hungry, she just smiled and made cute, sweet baby noises, and her super nanny learnt her language and gave her whatever she needed in just 30 seconds. Her diapers never smelt, and she never vomited. She was the best baby in the world, and everyone loved her and wanted to hold her. In fact, she was the most loved baby in the whole world. She was Adorable. With so much attention, Alexandra learnt to speak Spanish when she was just 6 months old, and by 1 year old her grammar was as good as a normal 10-year-old's. With so many rich and important people coming to the house due to her father being so famous, she was also soon starting to pick up other languages. By 2 years old, she was talking English, French and Portuguese, and was watching Japanese cartoons in their original language. The experts wanted to test Alexandra's intelligence, but her mother said that the secret to Alexandra was just love. Alexandra's mother went to the gym soon after she gave birth to Alex, and she had her perfect body again within just 4 weeks. She was always seen on the arm of her husband at many society functions and premieres, and always took Alexandra whenever it was possible. Alex was such a beautiful baby that companies begged her parents for advertising deals, and soon Alexandra was the face of Luhaleche, Poporno and Tini Asperini, and she had $2 million in her bank account before she was 2 years old. Alexandra's future was secure before she went to school. She asked her parents if she could go to school at 3 years old because she was bored studying online and wanted to meet other children and learn about how other people lived in the world. She was put in a big Mercedes every morning after breakfast, and her nanny accompanied her to a private school that her father had founded for her. He had invited all his rich friends to send their children to the school and paid all the best teachers to work there, which of course included John Blondin, the best English teacher in Colombia, if not the world. There were only 20 students in this school, and Tranquillap was installed in every room, so there was only peace and harmony in their classes every day. Alexandra loved school, and she loved all of her teachers, and she was the happiest student at the Gimnasio Gringo. She was always a little sad when the bell rang at 1 p.m. to go home, but then Tranquillap would make her happy again, and she would run laughing and smiling to her nanny sitting in the big black Mercedes waiting for her. She would always tell Juana about her wonderful day. When they were driving home, Juana asked her what she wanted to eat, and then she called the cook at the house, and she was always started to prepare the food for when they arrived. Alexandra loved everything, all the right foods, and never ate junk food or anything which would make her look or feel bad. She loved olives, mushrooms, avocado, anchovies, blueberries, and any vegetable that was green. She was never sick, and she never had to go to the doctor. If Alexandra wasn't studying, then she was playing sports. She loved everything which helped her stay strong. She played tennis, squash, badminton and paddle with her friends, and of course she always won. Alexandra was the Colombian national tennis and badminton champion from the age of just 8 years old in her age group, and competed in the 2020 Olympics at 14 years old. When she was around 3 years old, Alexandra wanted a puppy, so her father let her choose one from a website for exclusive pedigree puppies around the world. She didn't want a big dog or a small one, and she didn't want a dog which would bite anyone. She investigated and discovered that the Cocker Poodle was the best dog for her, and that chocolate brown was the best colour. She had to wait 6 months to find the perfect dog, which is no problem when your life is controlled by Tranquillap. You have all the patience in the world. They found a dog in Stratford-upon-Avon, which, by coincidence, is where William Shakespeare was born, and he lived with his wife. So, When the dog arrived, it was an easy decision to give him a name. She chose Hamlet. Hamlet responded to all her training, and soon he was doing tricks and jumping through hoops and walking along wires. And when Alexandra was just 7 years old, they competed in Colombia's Got Talent, and they won, earning them another 20 million Colombian pesos to add to her fund. Simon Cowell became their manager, and they earned another $2 million from shows and appearances. Hamlet lived to be 31, the oldest dog in history. Alex graduated at 9 years old and was accepted into the Royal University of Madrid, but because her parents loved her so much, they didn't want her to leave home, so they paid for the professors to fly to Colombia from Spain and stay at their house during the weekends and holidays, and give her the rest of the classes on Skype in their free time. She was, of course, a top student, obtaining 5.0 scores in every exam, and she graduated as a lawyer at just 14 years old, becoming the youngest lawyer in the world and winning the Nobel Achievement Award and putting another $1 million in her bank account. One day, she was filming a commercial for Bella Bella, a hair care product she was promoting. She was sitting in a corner, drinking Chinese tea with Hamlet beside her. A handsome young man came and sat beside her and introduced himself. Alexandra didn't watch much TV and certainly didn't waste her time on Facebook or reading fashion magazines, so she didn't realise that she was talking to Prince George, the future King of England. They just chatted and laughed about silly things, and they fell in love at first sight. The Queen of England was not happy about George dating a girl from Colombia, but Prince Charles wanted his grandson to be happy, so he installed Tranquil in most of the rooms in Buckingham Palace, and soon the Queen changed her mind and invited Alexandra to come and visit her. The Queen organised a garden party and invited all the richest and most important people in England to meet her, and she appeared in Hello magazine and on the front cover of all the main newspapers. Alexandra Hurtado was the most photographed woman in the world. Everyone had to wait until Alexandra was 18 so that she and George could get married. But by then, 95% of the Western world was using Tranquil, so everyone was calm and patient. Then, finally, the big day came, and Alexandra's father paid for everything because he had more money than the Queen of England now. Every available airplane was hired to bring the guests from Colombia, including all her old schoolmates, her nanny, her driver, her cook, her cleaners, her teachers, including John Blondin, and everyone who had done business with the family. Simon Cowell went in his own private jet and invited Brad Pitt, Sylvester Stallone and Jennifer Aniston to come as his guests. This was the event that everyone wanted to go to this year. It was the most important event in the world that month. The ceremony was in Westminster Cathedral, the biggest church in England, and Alexandra's father had built a big annex on the side to accommodate all the extra people. The Queen was there with all her family, and Hamlet played with the Queen's corgi dogs in front of them, and everyone thought they were cute. Prince George was taken to the church in a 200-year-old carriage made from black wood from Peru, and the future Princess Alexandra was taken in a 400-year-old golden carriage pulled by 8 big white horses with soldiers dressed in red on their backs. 2 million people were lining the streets of London, cheering and waving British and Colombian flags. Many people still had their Colombian flags from all the celebrations from when Colombia won the FIFA World Cup in 2018. So they were happy to wave their Colombian flags again and remember Colombia beating Brazil 10-0 in the final. Alexandra's father was sitting beside the Queen of England when his phone began to ring. The Queen was talking to him at this moment, so he had to say, "Sorry, Liz, it's work. I need to take this." The Queen was very happy to be quiet while he took his important call. It was from his technical director at Tranquil app. He said he was very concerned because the app was working at full capacity, and he worried that if there was any major stress in the world, that maybe the whole system could crash. Mr. Hurtado was not worried. He trusted his invention. At 12 o'clock, Alexandra's carriage arrived in front of the cathedral with 5.7 billion people watching on TVs around the world. A soldier dressed in red, carrying a big long sword, went around to the small door of the carriage and opened it for Alexandra. The crowd was going crazy as she stood up, and they could see the dress for the first time. She was the most amazing, beautiful princess the world had ever seen. She was going to be the first Colombian to marry into the royal family. She took the soldier's hand and started to descend the step from the carriage. And suddenly, her dress got caught in her shoe and she started to fall forward. The soldier tried to catch her, but he had his sword in his hand and she fell onto the sword and blood exploded out of her white dress. And 5.7 billion people went into shock. In Colombia, the Tranquil app computer immediately overheated, burst into flames and exploded, and the whole world could now see their real lives without Tranquil app. 17 million people died on the day of the Tranquil app crash. The end. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you for your inspiration. Bye-bye.